Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next webinar will be on June 1st at noon. This will feature Kathy Chandler from Northwest Valley Connect talking about how her agency is booking rides for older adults with the assistance of Lyft, so providing transportation in a low-cost, affordable, but effective way. And it's a great alternative that more people can consider. After that, on September 7th, we will have Drina Kasari. She is the Lyft General Manager for the Southwest region. She'll be talking about how Lyft is working with nonprofits and with individuals.
Why is the voice gone down?
If you have any questions, if you'd like to view the webinar after today, please do visit www.connect60plus.com for news about upcoming webinars and for recorded webinars that have aired previously. Today's webinar will focus on lessons learned in Ireland about being age-friendly. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Richard Knopf with ASU to talk about ASU's great work in this space, as well as their partnership with local communities here in Arizona, as well as their partnership with Dublin City University. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. For those of our friends in Ireland, come on over. We're going up to about 38 degrees Celsius today, and we're going to peak on higher than that as the days come in. Again, my name is Rick Knopf. I'm from Arizona State University, and thank you. I'm going to defer to the magnanimous Christine Kelly that is all around the world for her leadership in developing the age-friendly university concept. The ASU story, which I want to do for 4 minutes, started in 2014 with a gathering at Dublin City University between the presidents of the University of Strathclyde, Arizona State University, and Dublin City University.
Is that the order we're speaking in? The order that we're on the screen? When do we come in?
Their conversation. We are hearing.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
And thank you, Christine. I was about to say that Christine is known all over the world for her leadership. Our dear Ireland colleagues, respected, revered for the movement. I just wanted to comment that ASU is at the proud beginning in 2014 of the age-friendly university movement. I will defer to Christine to articulate the principles. The nutshell is that we're opening wide the doors of universities across the world to embrace older adults in every fiber of their being. This fits with what is the ASU charter that was developed about the same time and launched last year, where we as an institution are measured not by whom we exclude, but by whom we include and how they succeed. The short story is many institutions measure the fact that they are focused on the premier students, and they have a sense of exclusion. We open wide the doors to everyone, including older adults. So we have developed a continuum of learning that ASU embraces, starting with early childhood all the way through the entirety of life, with a couple things on the right-hand side: lifelong learning. Learning never learns. Older adults are driven by curiosity, and we open the doors for that curiosity to be expressed at ASU. And the second to the right, left, it is the notion that many older adults, maybe as young as 30, have never had the chance to go to college, or something happened, they will re-enter the institution and collect degrees. We are forming scholarships, re-entry scholarships, to make that happen. So the premise here is the traditional notion of a university being focused on the 20-some-year-olds is out the door. Age-friendly university embraces all ages. Two or three comments about what we're doing to manifest this vision. This is a 20-story structure being built in the middle of our campus that will be reserved for older adults in pursuit of that lifelong learning. The building is not important. It's a manifestation of our welcoming with open arms to the community. The building will be an access point for older adults to move into the heart of ASU. It is being designed, as well as other parts of the campus, with walk-friendly types of environments, abundant aging, building a sense of community, building a sense of connectedness with all aspects of ASU. It is a gateway for older adults. The other thing that we're developing strongly is to put older adults in our laboratories, in our mentoring platforms with students, intergenerational connectivity. The second brief point I want to make is we have an Lifelong Learning Institute at ASU. We're working very closely with DCU in developing the structures. Unlike a lot of lifelong learning centers that focus on, hello, here's our classes, now go home, we have a three-part mission. One is to fuse older adults with all aspects of ASU, its intellectual, its social, its cultural properties. Second is to build a sense of community with each other as lifelong learners and with ASU. The third is, how's time? Okay. The third is to develop pathways to public service. So older adults are ignited with their curiosity, and we find pathways to move them into different sectors. Just want to say it's working well. We're quadrupling our growth in the last 4 years. It's resonating with the public. I do want to emphasize we're growing a global footprint with AFU. Sitting in this room is a woman named Kathy Eden, one of our members, who will be spending 3 months in Dublin working with Christine to develop exchanges the way we're doing on this day. We're very excited by that partnership. Last thing I'll say is we're coalescing research around the notion of aging and shifting the concept that all universities do is medical research. We're looking at whole life experiences. We've designed centers in the College of Health Solutions. We have a Center for Healthy Outcomes and Aging. We have our own institute that's doing research on abundant living and how can universities help in that. We're working with the renowned Mayo Clinic to develop partnerships. A long-winded way of saying we're proud to be part of the AFU movement. For those of you in Arizona and the States, we welcome your input. We welcome your engagement. And now I'd like to introduce Christine O'Kelly. I've introduced her partially, but in the interest of time, I want to just turn it over to you, Christine, because you're amazing. How's that for an introduction?
Oh, I'm embarrassed, Rick. Well, thank you very much for that very warm introduction. I'm delighted to be part of the AFU network. DCU, as you know, is leading this globally. And the genesis of it started off in a very modest way with an intergenerational learning program. And at the time, we identified a niche for opportunities for older people to come into the university to look at courses that they could undertake. And that was the catalyst for the AgeFriendly University. We then worked with stakeholders across the wider community to draw together all of the 10 principles that you showed on the screen there earlier, and looked at how older people could be engaged in the university with our students, in our research, in developing research, informing research, and also in the longevity dividends, the exchange that happens between younger people and older people. The experts in aging are older people. So of course we saw this as an opportunity to say aging is an opportunity, not a challenge. Since we developed the initial 2 universities that joined, yourself and Strathclyde, I'm now delighted to say that we have 29 universities globally in the network. We have a broad range of opportunities on our DCU campus, lifelong learning courses that run for each semester. Also, our older adults can come in and sit in on modules, and they can take those with the undergraduate body. We also have opportunities around health and wellness. We have the largest exercise program medically supervised by our students and our Director of Health, called our Medics program, with over 700 people a week coming in on the program. And they're presenting with a range of conditions. And it's not about just treating the individual, it's treating the whole person and the social aspect of it, meeting and having a cup of coffee at the end of the sessions, and also having that peer support in keeping well and active. We have a dementia program that supports those with dementia and their carers, and we also support free online training for people in the leisure, banking and financial services industries. So we have quite a lot going on at the university. About 2,000 older people a week are on campus. We also, in DCU, have a multidisciplinary team across 6 pillars, and they are addressing issues around research innovation, teaching and learning, lifelong learning, intergenerational learning, civic engagement, encore career and enterprise. So it's quite busy. On top of that, we also have an expert advisory board, and the expert advisory board supports all of the work that we do. So we work in partnership with them. So it's not doing things to older people, it's doing things with older people. And that leads me on to our age-friendly relationship. Our President, Rita, is on the National Age-Friendly Ireland board. And of course I'm on the Fingal Age-Friendly Alliance. And our friends here with us will speak a little bit more about how that is structured right across the whole of Ireland. We're delighted to be able to advance the whole causes of, looking at the demographic change and how we meet that. And as a personal note, I realised that in the last number of years, we're speaking to the wrong audience. We need to be speaking to younger people. And these champions that we have here in the room with us are the champions. We're going to build on the soldiers of giants because they set the trend for us to have a healthy and positive ageing outcome. So that's what I'm doing at the Age-Friendly University. I'm really delighted to be part of it. It's great to be so engaged with organisations like Arizona State and of course Age-Friendly Ireland. And one thing we didn't mention there, Rick, was a huge funding proposal we put on for an intercontinental opportunity involving Arizona State and some of our other partners around the world globally to look at opportunities to invest in technologies to allow people to remain in their home for as long as possible. And that's been a very interesting learning opportunity for me personally. So I'm going to hand you over now to Sylvia McCarthy. And Sylvia works for Age-Friendly Ireland, and she's going to speak about the age-friendly themes and the process that happens at a national level in Ireland. So thank you.
Thanks, Christine. I'm going to do my best to get through as much as I can regarding the age-friendly structures in the next 5 minutes. So, and at the end when we finish up, I'll be only too delighted to expand on anything. So, have your questions ready. I'm happy to answer them. So I suppose I'll start with Ireland's population. Like anywhere else, it's growing, and the ageing of our population will represent, I guess, one of the most significant demographic and societal developments that Ireland has encountered. I mean, just given a couple of stats, I suppose, the number of people aged 65 is expected to increase substantially, reaching about 1.4 million by 2040, and about 23% of the actual total population of Ireland. Across this same sort of period, I suppose, the number of people over the age of 80 is set to quadruple. So the implications for public policy areas as diverse as, say, housing, health, urban, rural planning and transport, the workplace, business environment, they're all considerable. So I guess, I suppose, we've got to look at how Ireland is actually, I suppose, responding to, as Christine said, the challenges and the opportunities that lie with this growth in population. So I guess starting with our own local government, their key purpose is to promote the well-being and quality of life of citizens and communities. So Ireland's Age-Friendly City and County Programme provides, I suppose, a national infrastructure to bring the key stakeholders, such as our city and county councils, our health service, our NGOs, business and of course academia, together at local authority level to plan collaboratively, to share resources with the interests and needs of older people and an ageing population being at their core. So within that, I guess, framework of the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Cities and Communities model, local stakeholders are making commitments to shared action plans. They're addressing these pillars spanning, I suppose, over the housing, health, transport, employment, as I mentioned before. And I suppose with all our 31 now local authorities committed to age-friendliness, we now have a nationwide network of age-friendly city and county multi-agency, multi-sectoral programs. So now I guess go through sort of trying to show you how we actually developed these age-friendly programs and the structures around them, and I guess some of the important parts and some of the, I guess, the pitfalls or the barriers we came up against. So it started back in 2009, and Louth, which is a county in Ireland, became the first age-friendly county. The chief executive of the local authority was behind the program and supported it. They designed their first age-friendly strategy. They developed it, but they started off by developing their age-friendly alliance, their older persons council, and their strategy. And it was successful, and we decided we wanted to embed this program in all 31 local authorities. We wanted to scale it up, and we were then Age-Friendly Ireland took the lead on spreading, I suppose, and scaling up the program itself. So I guess the first important person or people that we needed to speak to were the chief executives within local authorities, to get them on board and to let them see how working collaboratively with their other key stakeholders in ageing and the older person as well would make for better age-friendly communities. So what we needed to do was then, when the chief executive was on board, then we got different stakeholders like the HSE, the guards, which are police force, transport, universities, and voluntary organisations. But to get key people from these different stakeholders, people who were decision makers sitting around the one table. And then from there, the alliances who sat within the local authorities were born. And from that then, we actually, the chief executive rather of the local authority would commit to having a program manager who was basically the coordinator for the program in their city or county. So there was a dedicated person within every city and county who would pull the program together. Then from that then, obviously the older person was at the heart of the program, so we needed to develop the older person's council, and 2 members or so of the older person's council would sit on the alliance. So their voice was being brought to the table. So they were part of the design and the development of age friendliness within the community or county or city. So then we had a national office who supported each of the alliances. So there are now 31 programs, and the national office supports those programs. And I'll explain to you how we do that now in a few minutes. But there's also a national advisory group, and that's a group who I guess are key people within local government and within the police force and business, and where problems can't be, I suppose, solved or locally, it can be brought to this national advisory group, and then they can help to implement change. So I'll keep going because I'm probably running out of time here. So I suppose the responding to these challenges and opportunities, our own office, our age-friendly program rather, needed to be embedded within local government. So I'm glad and delighted to be able to say that the program now is embedded in local government, and they were in the process of developing a shared service national office to support 31 city and county programs. So since 2007, last year, Meath County Council, one of the local authorities, are now hosting the interim programme support unit, and that unit is responsible for providing national support and coordination to the age-friendly programme. And there are a couple of high-level goals that we have, and that's to support the programmes in moving through their strategies and development to advance implementation, to optimise the programme quality and impact by supporting wide-scale application of innovative, effective and sustainable age-friendly practices, and by informing and influencing policy and service development at both national and local level. So I guess just to give you an idea of the sort of things we've done over the last while, so as I said, we've got 31 age-friendly city and county programs. We've developed 27 age-friendly strategies. We're, I guess, we've various test sites for innovations. We've age-friendly actions and commitments being sustained in key local plans and frameworks. So government plans, local development plans, our national positive ageing strategy. Age-friendly is all knitted into those programs. The Older Persons Council, it's recognised as the voice of the older person. And so older people are better connected to supports and services. We've got over 25 age-friendly towns. We've 500 plus age-friendly businesses. They participate in the age-friendly business recognition programme. And counties and cities are key reference points for data on older people's health and well-being, because we have 21 city and county baseline profile positive ageing reports, which we call the HAPPY study. And just, you know, some of the, I guess, age-friendly initiatives, just to give you a snapshot on that. We've alternative housing models, we've community transport services, older people remaining at home programs, district registers of older people within our policing units, age-friendly hospital programs, physical activity programs, walkability programs. We also have an annual age-friendly awards, peer-to-peer home safety programs, age-friendly training for architects, planners and engineers. And as I say, we also do a lot of research, which I can tell you more about if you're interested, on the healthy and positive ageing strategy. So I think probably I should move on and introduce you to my colleague Beatrice, who works. She's the program manager for our Dublin City programme, and she'll be able to give you a little more information about how, from a local perspective, Age-Friendly was implemented, and, you know, the really good initiatives that have come from that programme. So I'll pass you on to Beatrice.
Should be on there again. Can everybody hear me?
No.
You can hear. You can hear it.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Very low.
My name is Beatrice and I'm the Dublin Programme Manager. Any questions at the end, please just ask them. And if I don't know the answers, I will definitely come back to you with the answers for them. I suppose Dublin is different to all the other counties in Ireland. Each other county in Ireland has one Programme Manager. Dublin being different, it's divided into 5 different districts, if you want to call it, or areas. So it's like having 5 counties in the one with Dublin. So in each of the 5 areas we have an older persons council, and we also have an age-friendly area alliance. Each issue or issues that are brought up at the older persons council meetings would go on to a hierarchy, which is the alliance, where we would hope to be able to, I suppose, solve issues or come up with some sort of alternative, or even just target the issues if they haven't been brought to head before. Now, where Dublin is different, we are in the process of organising or trying to get a citywide alliance, which would be the heads of, because within Dublin it's so hard, I suppose, to target the exact people that you need to target, because Dublin being so big, and each area of the guards would fall into it, or the guards of the police would fall into a different catchment area that we fall into. The same with our health. So it's quite hard to get the bigger issues sorted. So we have, at the moment, we have appointed a chair of the Citywide Alliance, and we're in the process of targeting the specific people. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Is that better or worse? Okay. Yes, no, up, down. Okay. So we're in the process of targeting the chairs or the chief. We previously had a citywide alliance, and it didn't really work. It wasn't, I suppose, it wasn't productive. It was maybe too many people sitting on high laurel chairs, and there wasn't the feed up or the feed down, which we've come to know that there, a communications up and down through the board is needed. So we have a different approach in it this time. Our citywide alliance is going to be a smaller group, and we have met up over the last 8 weeks. We've met up with all the areas, and we have 4 top priorities that we are hoping to target. There's so many different areas, and I think there's 52 different areas within the Dublin Age-Friendly strategy that we thought if we make it more manageable and realistic targets, that we have some hope of achieving them. We hope to do. Of our OPCs, they've been working well to date, and we have great progress from them. But again, I suppose the negative, or where it's fallen down slightly, and we are reinvigorating it at the moment, is people's knowledge of what age-friendly is, getting the name out there, getting the brand out there, and basically letting older people know that it's a place or a forum for them to get their voice heard. We have gotten some great results through the process, but we are in the process of organising annual general meetings in each of the 5 areas to reinvigorate the older persons council. I'm also involved in the business recognition training throughout the whole of Dublin, which encourages local businesses to become age-friendly for a little or no cost. But it includes the business in their community. With the statistics of older people spending more, it's a bit of a wake-up call for businesses to go that this is a low or no-cost initiative, and a target market for business and profit for them. But it also puts the older person maybe as a customer to the front as well, where maybe they weren't beforehand. So I suppose it's about changing people's perspective of older people and older people's voices. The age-friendly communications training I'm also involved in within Dublin City Council for our own staff, to try and make our own staff more aware of being age-friendly to everybody. And I'm also involved in organising the training for the public realm training for architects and planners within Dublin City as well. To do with DCU, I have been involved with the doctors on site for the MEDEX programme. As Christine said earlier on, there's 700 people come into DCU on a weekly basis. Dublin is in talks with DCU at the moment to provide 12 different locations within Dublin to roll out the MEDEX programme to older people. Also, the Dublin Age-Friendly programme, recently in the last 10 days, we've launched a new housing support scheme in Inchicore. It's a new development of 2-bedroom units where people will come from social housing lists, homeless lists, and also will have the option of buying in. 20% of the units will be buy-in. The housing with supports is not only physical supports, which will be offered. If somebody is in hospital, they will have more support when they come out of hospital. That when needed, the support can be tapered off, but also the technical backup to come and go as needed, which is completely never been done in Ireland before, where 5 different agencies have come together to roll this programme out, and 15.5 million has been given by the Department of Housing and Local Government. So that's some of the things that I'm involved in. I'm going to leave it up to the lovely people that I have here with me today to inform you of some of the projects that they have undertaken themselves and the great work that they do on local level. And as I said, please come back to me if you have any questions. I'm going to now introduce you to Margaret Donnelly.
Good evening. I actually am a senior citizen myself of 74. I have been involved in a while in doing what I'm doing. I deal with a lot of elderly people myself, apart from being on the position I have with the Alliance, and basically they deal with from ages from the 70s up to the late 90s. I go to all the meetings, get very informed of what's happening, and basically it's very educational to hear the different views of the people around. I have gone to a number of meetings and just come back with a knowledge that's on compared to what older people are able to do. I would just like to say that basically we would look to get more involved if I could, providing that I spare the years to come. And it's a great idea. Just people.
I'm next.
Okay. So just to say that basically educating older people just it was a stigma years ago, and it's not anymore. So it's, you feel 20 inside, not 70. That's all I can say on that. Thank you. I'll hand you over to my colleague now.
Hello, can you hear me okay? My name is Eileen Sweeney, and I'm on the Senior Citizens Forum attached to Fingal County Council. What I would like to just tell you is I'm one of the older people. I'm on the, as I said, Senior Citizens Forum, and it was set up under Fingal County Council quite a number of years back. But when Fingal County Council took on the World Health Organisation's we're turning down the sound a little bit with an interruption, if that's okay. When the World Themes was introduced, the WHO Themes in Age-Friendly Cities and Counties programme came aboard, we actually started to follow those principles. I was actually introduced personally to some principles of age-friendly universities and counties and cities when I actually got involved in the University of the Third Age, which is a branch of what's known as Age Action Ireland, which is a charity which promotes positive ageing and better policies and services for older people. I also linked in with DCU when they had their intergenerational learning program, and from that we actually developed an age-friendly university principles. And I got introduced to Christine later on when DCU was actually officially launching a full-time person involved in this, and the support we get from DCU is fantastic. As an organisation out in the Dublin, Fingal area, the area is both rural and urban. In our area, we have a lot of services locally that can actually, older people can link into. But through the AgeFriendly Fingal County Council, we had this theme in which we would say, look, at if there are issues around the place, under, say, outdoor spaces and public buildings, instead of just going to a meeting and saying, look, I wish somebody would do something on the speed of the traffic lights to give us time to walk across the road before somebody starts running us all down. We were able to say to the Alliance, which was only set up, a age-friendly Alliance, which was only set up in December 2011, when we were reviewing, the Fingal County Council were reviewing their strategy for 2012-2017. We said, look, you know, we have to now, at the table, we have people from the various divisions of the Fingal County Council who can actually take action on that. So if we have an issue, we brought them up at the Alliance, and they would run with it and say, look, now we have an entree and to get the lights to be extended by so many seconds. If the pathways were bubbly all over the place and you couldn't walk and you were tripping over, and people out walking having had hip operations, we got pavements and pathways remedied. Now, I can't say we have everything, and we do complain. But as Sylvia said earlier on, under the age-friendly banner of Age-Friendly Ireland, we were able to also do what's known as Walkability Studies. Even going around DCU, we were able to say, look, walking around DCU may not be age-friendly, but these are the areas we would love to have improved. The next thing was, we in our area with big issues as regards our water company, as regards a whole pile of confusion and lack of clarity as regards a whole issues and concerns and privacy and data protection and billing, etc. We were able to, before the Alliance came in, write directly to the ministers and the organisations, and we got responses. Again, on the walkability studies, our main Dublin airport is in our Fingal area, and we were able to go out to Dublin airport and we were able to say to them, look, we want to have a walk around on airside as well as off air. We were able to go around and say we want signs or more seating that will help us. The other thing is we had issues as regards our local hospitals and car parking and lack of signs and going into the reception area. You had to nearly spend 5 minutes trying to figure out what the sign was saying and where you should be going, and we found that whole experience again using age-friendly concept in order to, and the principles of the WHO in order to deliver on that. We also concentrated on our financial and banking areas, whereby we found with the banking area that they were not what you might call age-friendly. And we went to one of the main banks, the Bank of Ireland, and we raised issues regarding service levels. And older persons wanted a choice of in-person customer service at a physical branch rather than online. We wanted a proper balance. We weren't saying it's either or. We wanted a proper balance, and we wanted necessary and appropriate services and protection. And we weren't too happy with the customer service, their lack of seating and lack of response. We got a lot of progress on that on one or two of the banks, and they still provide service, okay, maybe 2 days a week for half the day. And we all the time, we then produce what is known our calling card. Again, as Sylvia and Patrice said, we call it your action, your voice, your say, and we go out to everybody with that. And next week we have an annual general meeting run by our Fingal Age Forum for all of the seniors in our area, which also includes crime prevention and safety and security is one of our topics, including health. I've personally used DCU, Age-Friendly University, and a lot of my colleagues in University of the Third Age for Lifelong Learning, we have linked into DCU on programs. We have what we call our Triple L lifelong learning concept. We track our own credits. If I, for instance, find that there's certain areas of lifelong learning that I haven't spent this year, I have to make a deliberate, conscious effort to say, right, I'm weak on that. And finally, under age-friendly business recognition programs, again mentioned by Patrice, I was working with AgeFriendly Ireland on actually doing a business model for age-friendly. So as you can see, it's been brilliant for us as older persons within the community as a vehicle, knowing that these organisations are represented at the Alliance and we have a pathway to get up to things. I'm not saying everything happens, and there's a lot of the usual, we'll get around to it sometime type of thing. And over the last 10 years we've had austerity measures, and there hasn't been budget release. There's still austerity for older persons. But we live in hope, and there are things happening which are positive, but there's still a lot more to do. I'll move on now to my colleague next.
Good evening, or good day, I should say, to you in Arizona. I am relatively new to the group here. I'm fascinated by all I'm hearing here at the moment. I've been involved for less than a year in the southeast area of Dublin, where I got involved through observing one of the members there doing a lot of planting of flowers and dressing up of the place for the Tidy Towns competition, and I felt somewhat guilty watching this lady doing so much work, and so I volunteered to help. And since then I've come across all of what we've heard here this evening. In this place in Ranelagh where I live, we have an art centre, and at the back of the art centre we have a garden which it was like a jungle, and with financial support from the City Council, we cleaned up the garden, and we received a national award this year for creating a performance garden where we have a stage and we have musical performances and acting and so on when the weather permits. We have a lot of rain here. I continue to be involved here. We have a lot of things going on within our centre. We don't really involve so much of the local community as yet, but listening to everybody here, it's encouraging me to get more involved that way and to try and involve more of our local community in what we do. That's about all I have to say, so I'll hand you over to my next colleague.
Hello, my name is Anne Davis, and thank you for sending a little bit of your good weather over here. I got involved, was always involved in community groups through the years, and when it came to my retirement, I felt it was nearly the end of the world because I loved my job, and I had to look around and I noticed they were setting up an age-friendly group in my locality. So joined up there, and it has been the best thing I've ever done. I should have retired years ago. There is so much for everybody out there, and especially older people. And I just say to myself, it's a pity we're not born old and then get younger as we go. But from that, what encouraged me to stay in the group was we had a local issue with lifts at our train stations, and several thousands of letters went in, no replies from air transport and department. So I joined the Alliance, and within weeks we had a lift put into our station, and that really set the ball rolling. Now from that, there are so many interesting groups in that, but from that I was asked, would I go? Well, it's always one meeting, you're told. Would I go to one meeting with the Irish Hospice Society? And I said, well, I'd go and I'd see would I like it, thinking there'd be hundreds there. And it turned out that it's the Irish Hospice Society who is responsible for all the hospices in Dublin, and they would be the major people in the roles of running the facilitators from the major hospitals. And just little old me, And first thing I said to them was, how can I have any input or enhance your work? I mean, I've never been in anything like this before. But they said, no, we really want somebody who has been down that road, tell us what we can see. And they want to make changes all the time, better changes for the hospice foundation and the hospital friendly, all the hospitals. So, for instance, last night, now I was given a book that was written by the experts of these organisations, and would I pick out things that I might be able to add to it or change in it, and I thought, oh God, this is a bit much for me. But I actually found a good few flaws in it that they may not have seen themselves, because a lot of the time I've found that they're not on the ground themselves, and that's where I come in, because I'm involved with a lot of local groups, so I get their opinions and things that happen to them, and I can bring them back to the organisation, and it's so interesting, and we wouldn't even know that these organisations exist unless I had joined the Dublin City Council AgeFriendly group, and from there there's something for everybody. Like as Fintan said, there's gardening, there's going after the new stations, police stations, there's just everything. But I've just got wrapped up in this now, the hospice situation, because so many of the people in my age group have somebody in the situation where they will be in the situation, and I've also found that once you go into an organisation like a state organisation, and you may have something in your mind to say to them, people of my age group always found it difficult to speak up because they felt they weren't listened to. Oh, they're old, it's only an old person came in. But when you say I'm part of the age-friendly group, their ears cock up and they listen to you and they know, and you get a reply, which gives you a certain amount of satisfaction, and you feel you're being heard, and it's so rewarding to be in any of these groups, because from each group you meet like-minded people, and I just feel I want to live till I'm 100 and get all these things off the ground, and it's a good little life, and there is life afterwards. There's another thing I'd like to say, that older people of my era find it hard to talk about, we say, hospices and sickness and things like that. But now they're changing it to be so friendly, and it's talk to people before they're sick and that, and it's just wonderful to go back to my group. And now they're talking about it, how to deal with life's problems instead of, and I say to them, if you go in somewhere and you're not happy, just say, look, I'm part of the age-friendly group now, and I feel that and once you say that, it's really terrific, and it's good for everybody. So I hope I enhanced the conversation here tonight, and thank you.
I'm Geraldine Goff. I'm the chairperson of the local area Older Persons Council. We're the worker bees. We go out and we find out everything. We bring messages out to the community, and we bring their issues back in. We bring them back in. We meet every 6 weeks. We discuss the issues in the area, and then we bring them onto the alliance level for people who have authority. The last walkability study we've done was on the local library. In this library, when anybody with impairment wanted to get in the front door, the librarian had to get up and go out and open the door for them. 4 of our volunteers went down and we compiled a report, and one of the Dublin City Council came with us, and she had her mobile camera, and we pointed out areas where there were trip hazards, an area that needed a seat. We pointed out the signage. every problem that we could think of. One of our members had a sight impairment, and she pointed out any difficulty she would have. And within 6 weeks, the local library was transformed. There was an automatic door, things were rearranged, signs were put up, there was a lovely friendly seat outside, there were plants, and if you saw the transformation, now we're just volunteers, we come from residents associations and local knitting clubs and walking clubs and all that, and when we say that we're from the Older Persons Council for the Age-Friendly, things happen. If we notify somebody about a trip hazard, there's a sudden yellow line there the following day, because we realise that if you trip on a very obscure little step and break your hip, well, it could land you down the road of immobility. And it's only a simple thing, and it may not seem like much. We've had a lot of seats put into the area, and this has generated the possibilities for people to go for walks. If they know that there's a seat about halfway down, or they can sit there and revive themselves and then continue on in their journey. We meet every 6 weeks and we discuss issues, and we bring them up further up to the bosses, the people that make decisions. Now, up to now, those decisions have been always taken behind closed doors. And to be honest with you, middle-aged people just tossed a coin for what decision that they would make. But now, since the age-friendly movement has started, they actually listen to the older person's viewpoint of it. And many topics come up, from Japanese knotweed to staying in your home longer, care and repair programs, and any problem that older people have, we bring them to the table. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Geraldine. I'm just conscious of the fact that we're running quite low on time, and I'm wondering, Amy and Rick and Kathy over in Arizona, do you have any questions for the group?
I don't believe we've received any questions yet, but thank you for checking. And the schedule is fine on our end, so if you care to go a little bit longer to give everyone an opportunity to speak, then that would be wonderful on our end. Thank you.
That's super. That's super. Who have we next?
Hello. My name is Bridie O'Reilly, and hello Arizona. It's a privilege to be part of this discussion. It's a first for me, a webinar. I'm a member of Fingal Senior Citizens Forum. We're an advocacy group for senior citizens in the Fingal area. It's an area in North County Dublin, and it's furthest north. I live in Balbriggan, and there's about a population of about 29,000 people there. So I represent Balbriggan on the Fingal Senior Citizens Forum. I'm fairly new to it. I joined last September, and we meet once a month. So since I've been part of the forum, we have introduced the care and repair service, and with the care and repair service, people are skilled and vetted and sent out to an older person who needs some minor repair in their home, like a little bit of painting or changing a light bulb, because we all know if we're very old and feeble, we can't climb, it could be dangerous. They go out in a van, so you recognise the van, and it's all very safe, and the people are very friendly. A leaflet was produced, and the service was launched, and all people around Balbriggan and Skerries and the north of the area were invited to this launch, and the leaflets were distributed. So with a phone call, somebody who's in their home, needs a minor repair in their home, makes the call, and gives the details, and the people come out. And following on from that, the home computer service was introduced because we're in the digital age and many older people struggle with computers and smartphones and iPhones and all of that. So this computer service provides 1 hour tuition in the person's home. It's similar to the care and repair, except that it's the computers, but they don't repair the computers, obviously. It's just if somebody is struggling with their computer or their laptop or smartphone, they'll have 1 hour tuition in their own home. And it's very good service, and it's been well used at the moment, because many people are not computer literate. And so this is a good way of introducing them, because we all know that it's, computers are important now for all services and banking and appointments and all that sort of stuff. I don't have an awful lot more to say because in the forum, the forum would be on the bottom rung of the ladder of what all of you are speaking about. But I would say that Fingal is an age-friendly area, and the forum is an advocacy group for the North County, and as I said, I represent Balbriggan. So I might leave it at that. That's okay. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Arizona. My name is Peg McManus. I live in North County Dublin, in a small peninsula, which until about 20 years ago was a sleepy peninsula of a population that was aging. But there's been huge development, and we had an explosion of new houses and new people. And Fingal County Council came in to help us to plan for the future. And the way they did that was they commissioned a survey, and they asked us local people to, the people who are conducting the survey could consult with us and set the questions for us, literally. And what they found from that survey was that the needs of the older people and teenagers were not being well served. So I was nominated with a representative from the Fingal County Council to go out and find older people, really, literally, that was what it was, and see what they wanted. So we did. We knocked on doors, we corralled people, we harassed them. And eventually we got a bus together and we went out to see how an older group worked to a community centre. And on the way home on that bus, we got 7 people to sign up to start a community, an active age for all in the community. And of those 7 people, one of them was the local community development officer. We all put in 10 euros, and we had 70 euros to start off. And we went out and canvassed the local people, and we got an active age for all going, which was 2 years ago. And of course, we also had to get training from the Fingal County Council, because when we set up the local committee, we didn't know how to run a committee. We were all experts, and nobody was willing to listen to anybody. So we had to get training in community skills before we killed each other. We got it going, and we now have 280 members. We have things from pickleball to bowls to whiz to Tai Chi, Pilates, yoga. We have a cycling club. For those people who are not active, we have sit and keep fit. But the most important part of anything, and I really think it starts from the ground up, is human connection. Last year we had a delegation from Eastern Europe, and they were saying, people say from Switzerland we had, where they were cash rich. but they did not have human connections, maybe because they didn't need it. So our task, our main task, was communication and connection with people. And that has enhanced people's whole lives. I played the ukulele, and I never played an instrument in my life. And it now has become my whole social outlet. I've made such friends, and that the task of this age is the human connection, because we're getting a huge population of older people. Family structures have broken down, so there's no longer that support, and loneliness is the main issue facing us. Now, one of the great things about our project this year was we set up, and it was also Fingal County Council, I say, who set up this project called Kaleidoscope, and it was getting, often grandparents are living far away from their grandchildren, and grandchildren don't have access to grandparents. So we set up a situation, a project, and it was a pilot scheme where grandparents could come into the play school and talk to the younger children. And it is just such a magical thing. So that is our latest, for which we won a prize. And also in the kind of structure, I am now the person who represents my local active age community on the Senior Citizens Forum. So the important thing is communication. And that's where we find the difficulty. How do we get our message across? But we are working on it. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Amy.
Yes.
How are we doing on time?
We have a few more moments if you have someone else to present.
We do. We do indeed.
Go ahead.
We have Dan.
Hello, Dan Moore is my name. I'm not that long involved with the AgeFriendly, but one of the important things that we discovered in our area, which is Dublin City North, there was a long distance between part of the area and the local hospitals, and there was quite a lot of visits being missed and things having to be changed and one thing and another. So it was introduced with the help of the Dublin City Council with other things. There's now a minibus link between the area and the hospitals, which means that appointments are readily taken and are able to be there on time. Other things within the area, there is a long distance from one side to the other. We're trying to get into an area which would be maybe about 2 miles, believe it or not, from us, and which is not represented. We're doing our best to get contacts there to get people involved. We have a small committee. We're not that long in being, so it takes time to get things going right. That's all I have to say at the moment.
That's super. So that's the full contribution from all of our participants here.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Thank you so much, Christine, and thanks so much to all the speakers today. It was absolutely wonderful to hear from your perspective how communities can be and are becoming more age-friendly. I thought it was fascinating to hear about music and Tai Chi, gardening, technology, sidewalks, volunteering, but it all really boils down to having a voice and to having connections. So thank you so much. You have so much to teach us, and we're so excited to learn from you and to share with you about the great work that's going on here in Arizona as well. Thanks again to everyone participating. Christine, do you have anything else that you'd like to add before we close the webinar?
Just to say that the voice of the experts can't be underestimated. You can't do this alone, and you need to work in partnership. And that's having the voice of the experts who are older people involved in the whole process. So I'm saying to all of you older people in Phoenix, make your voice heard, annoy Amy, phone her as often as you can about the issues, and hopefully you become as age-friendly as what we're experiencing in Dublin. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
Christine. Thank you so much. Thank you to Rick, Christine, to all of our presenters today. Thank you also to everyone who was able to log in today and watch the webinar. And thanks to those who will view it in the future. We are indebted to all of you for your participation, your support, and your enthusiasm. Being age-friendly affects the way that we live. It affects the way that we connect, and it affects the way that we govern and participate in our communities. So thank you so much to everyone. We look forward to seeing you again at the next Feed Your Mind webinar on June 1st at noon, Arizona time. And we look forward to continuing our partnership with you. This concludes our webinar today. Thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful day and be age-friendly. Thank you.